Listen up, fellas. Manscaped just released the Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer. The premium Manscaped Weed Whacker has a 9,000 RPM motor-powered dual-blade system. This incredible trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology, which helps prevent against nicks and snags. Its unique design enhances the trimming experience. It's waterproof, easy to use and clean. This is the only nose hair trimmer on the market with a powerful and rechargeable battery that lasts up to 90 minutes. And yes, you will get a replaceable blade every 3 months. It's time to upgrade your Manscaped routine with the Weed Whacker. Get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com/Chael. Get one for yourself. Trust me when I tell you, it makes the perfect gift. Get 20% off and free shipping. Just go to manscaped.com/Chael. Justin Gaethje was talking about his coming up fight with Khabib this Saturday, and he said, "I am screwed if I get pushed up against the fence." That is a quote. I really like this whole fence business talk. I like it because Justin Gaethje is the first guy to come out, at least publicly, and identify the biggest strength of Khabib, which is pushing an opponent into the fence, right? There's some things that you can break down. Well, I don't want to get punched by this guy. Okay, great. Don't get within arm's reach of the guy. We'll solve the problem. I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's ways to back things up so that they don't happen. Khabib is not going to take Justin Gaethje down unless he pushes him into the fence. Khabib does not take anybody down. That's a broad stroke. You could find a few examples, unless he pushes them into the fence. This idea of Khabib being this masterful wrestler is simply not true unless he pushes you into the fence. This is very obvious. It's been very obvious to me, a guy who's never trained with Khabib and would never for any reason ever be in a competition against Khabib, and I can still see it. And I've been surprised that other guys can't. You don't have to start worrying about the body locks and the entanglements if you can just stop him from getting his hands locked or entangling your legs, right? Everything backs up to the most common foundation, and with Khabib, it is pushing you into the cage. So I really like the idea that Justin is so aware that he can solve 99% of his takedown worries if he just doesn't get pushed up against the fence. I also would be interested in that position, and we're going to see it. We're going to see it at some point. But I would be interested if Khabib could just hold Justin. I mean, Justin's a very strong guy. He's a very big guy, not to mention he's training now, day in and day out, with Kamaru Usman. I mean, that is the most perfect workout partner you could find, specifically in preparation for Khabib. I would think that Justin has an answer to get off the fence. But as I look back over history, not very many guys do. Khabib does a very good job, and it's very hard to see. I wouldn't expect you, the viewer, to ooh and ah about anybody holding anybody else against the fence, right? That sounds like the cure for insomnia, but there is still some moving parts if you're the kind of guy who's into that kind of a thing. Khabib gets an underhook, by example. He splits the legs with his own legs. By example, right? Guy's got two legs. Khabib goes right into the middle, so now he can attack both parts of the body. It's like a fulcrum, and he's right in the middle, but he takes his head to the opposite side of the underhook. Most wrestlers will put their head on the same side as the underhook. Khabib will control that side of your body with the hook. He will then rotate his head to the opposite side. The reason I bring this up, it makes it very hard to get out. There's usually an out when you're up against the fence. There's usually a feel where the pressure is great. Go against the pressure, go the opposite side, circle off. Not so fast when it's Khabib. Underhook is very visible. What a guy does with his head is not as visible. You'll hear announcers talk about head position, but they don't then take the time to explain to the audience what that means, the positioning of the head and the relevance for it. I'm only offering this to you because as Justin's talking about, I'm screwed if I get pushed up against the fence. Not so fast. You're not so fast. Khabib is not going to dirty box you like, say, Daniel Cormier or Randy Couture would against the fence. He's going to set you up and drag you down. So you're not necessarily screwed yet. Once he gets his hands locked, now you got bigger problems. Once he starts entangling your legs, now you got really big problems. And once you hit the floor, Khabib's already in perfect position because he did it on his feet. Khabib is not one of these guys that blasts you down to the ground and goes to work from there. He does the heavy lifting while on his feet. He will get the body position. He will entangle the legs so that when you land, you're already stuck. That's why guys have such a hard time scrambling with Khabib. When you hit the ground, you need to treat the ground like a trampoline. You hit it, boom, and you bounce off it. Very hard to do with Khabib because he's already hooked you. He's already locked you. Everything's already encased by the time you hit the floor. It's why he can hold those positions so well. Justin Gaethje does have a hold of the right tool, even if by the wrong end. He is right. He needs to keep that back off against the fence. And the reason you will see a good wrestler look okay in the stand-up against a really skilled stand-up guy, the reason we see that time in and time out in MMA is because the stand-up guy is so worried about the potential of a takedown and or the threat of a takedown. The whole reason that Khabib was able to knock Conor down, something that Floyd Mayweather had 30 minutes to do and never succeeded at, the whole reason that worked is because he'd already taken Conor down. So now Conor's mind is 50% on wrestling defense and 50% on the stand-up, but they're 100% in the stand-up. The reason that Khabib, who would be a subpar striker in relation to McGregor, was able to outstrike McGregor is because Khabib could put 100% of focus into the stand-up while they're standing up because he's not worried about the takedown. Justin Gaethje is one of the few athletes who possesses, at least on paper, the skill to go out and take Khabib down. The bad news there is Justin is a lot like Yoel Romero, which it doesn't matter what that paper says, they simply don't use that wrestling offense. They just don't. It would be a very good idea for Gaethje to use it. Whether it works or not, it would be a very good idea to offer the threat to make Khabib start to put a little bit of his calculation while he's on his feet to worrying about the takedown, the potential takedown, the threat of a takedown, and the defenses to a takedown. Exactly what Khabib did to McGregor, which is why a subpar striker, and that's not meant as disrespectful, it's meant as a compliment. Conor just happens to be very good at that. A subpar striker was able to win the striking battle because Conor had to think about all sorts of different things. Nobody's ever forced Khabib to think. I don't know that guys think about anything against Khabib other than don't get taken down, don't get taken down. What kind of mindset is that? It should be the opposite. It should be the offense. I'm going to take him down. The best way to talk yourself out of not getting taken down, get yourself in the right frame of mind, is to just convince yourself of the adverse to the statement, which in this case would be, I'm going to take Khabib down. And whether Justin succeeds at it or not, I'm only offering to you, he must impose a threat to Khabib of the takedown. He doesn't need the takedown. He needs Khabib to believe in the threat.